As the snowflakes gently drifted down from the sky, a family of 4 snuggled into their warm beds on Christmas Eve. The children, a brother and sister named Jack and Lucy, were so excited that they could barely sleep. They had hung their stockings by the fireplace and left out a plate of cookies and a glass of milk for Santa Claus, and they could hardly wait for morning to come so that they could see if he had eaten them. Outside, the world was blanketed in a thick layer of snow, and the wind howled through the trees. But inside, the family's home was warm and cozy, thanks to the crackling fire in the fireplace. As Jack and Lucy drifted off to sleep, they could hear their parents talking softly in the next room, and the sounds of Christmas carols playing softly on the radio. The night seemed to drag on forever, but finally, the morning arrived. Jack and Lucy jumped out of bed and ran to the living room to see if Santa had come. To their delight, they found that their stockings were overflowing with candy, toys, and other goodies, and the plate of cookies was empty. Overjoyed, they spent the rest of the morning playing with their new toys and enjoying the delicious breakfast that their parents had prepared for them. And as they sat around the table, surrounded by the warmth and love of their family, they knew that this was the best Christmas ever. As the day went on, the family went out into the snow to build a snowman, and they took a sleigh ride around the neighborhood. And when they returned home, they gathered around the fireplace once again, sipping on hot cocoa and singing Christmas carols. As the night drew to a close, the family went to bed once again, tired but happy. And as they drifted off to sleep, they knew that they would always remember this special Christmas, and the warmth and love that had filled their home. On a cold, snowy Christmas Eve, a young girl named Emily sat alone in her small, cramped apartment. She had recently lost her parents, and she didn't have any family or friends to celebrate the holiday with. She felt lost and alone, and she didn't know how to find the joy and meaning of Christmas. As the night wore on, Emily began to feel more and more down. She curled up on the couch, watching TV, and trying to forget about the emptiness she felt inside. But no matter what she did, she couldn't shake the feeling of loneliness and sadness. Just when Emily was about to give up hope, something strange happened. Suddenly, the door to her apartment burst open, and a group of Christmas spirits appeared before her. There was the ghost of Christmas past, with a wispy, translucent form, and the ghost of Christmas present, with a jolly, rotund figure. The spirits showed Emily scenes from her past, reminding her of the joy and happiness she had once felt at Christmas. They also showed her the present, and the people in the world who were celebrating the holiday with love and laughter. But the spirits also showed Emily the future, and the lonely, empty Christmas that awaited her if she didn't change her ways. Emily was horrified, and she realized that she needed to find the true meaning of Christmas in order to be happy. With the help of the spirits, Emily began to see the world in a new light. She reached out to others, spreading love and joy wherever she went. She helped those in need, and she made new friends and connections. And as she did, she felt the warmth and happiness of the holiday season fill her heart. On Christmas Day, Emily woke up to a world that was full of light and joy. She was surrounded by friends and loved ones, and she felt happier than she had in a long time. She knew that she had found the true meaning of Christmas, and that she would never be alone again. And so, Emily lived happily ever after, spreading the joy of Christmas to everyone she met, and cherishing the memories of this special holiday for the rest of her life. Once upon a time, in a cozy little town, there was a family who loved Christmas more than anything else in the world. They were known all around town for their joyous spirit and their love of all things festive. Every year, the family would spend weeks planning their Christmas celebration, and they would go all out to make it the best one yet. They would start by putting up a towering Christmas tree in the living room, which they would decorate with twinkling lights, shiny ornaments, and colorful ribbons. On Christmas Eve, the family would gather around the tree and sing Christmas carols together, filling their home with the joyous sounds of the season. Then, they would sit down to a delicious Christmas feast, complete with all of their favorite holiday dishes. After dinner, the family would open their gifts, taking turns to unwrap each one and marvel at the thoughtful presents that had been given to them. And as the night wore on, they would curl up by the fireplace, sipping on hot cocoa and telling stories of Christmases past. But the most special part of the family's Christmas celebration was their tradition of going caroling around the neighborhood. Dressed in warm coats and gloves, the family would venture out into the snowy night, singing their hearts out as they went from door to door. The people of the town would always welcome them with open arms, offering them hot drinks and treats as they sang. And by the end of the night, the family would return home, rosy-cheeked and exhausted, but filled with the warmth and joy of the holiday season. Every year, the family's Christmas celebration was a highlight of the season, and they looked forward to it all year long. It was their way of bringing a little bit of magic and wonder into the world, and spreading the joy of the holiday to everyone around them. And so, the family lived happily ever after, celebrating Christmas with love, laughter, and joy. It was the happiest time of the year for them, and they cherished each and every moment of it. Brian had always been a city boy at heart. He loved the hustle and bustle of the busy city, and he never thought he would want to leave it. But as Christmas approached, Brian found himself longing for something more. He wanted to be surrounded by the people he loved, and to feel the warmth and joy of the holiday season. So, Brian decided to travel home to his grandparents' house for Christmas. It was a long journey, but as he arrived, he was filled with excitement. He hadn't seen his grandparents in a long time, and he couldn't wait to spend the holiday with them. As he walked into the house, Brian was greeted by the sight of his entire family gathered together. His mom, dad, brothers, and sisters were all there, along with aunts, uncles, and cousins. The house was filled with laughter and love, and Brian felt a warmth in his heart that he hadn't felt in a long time. The grandmother had prepared an amazing Christmas dinner, and the whole family sat down to enjoy it together. They laughed and joked, and they caught up on each other's lives. As they ate, the grandfather told old Christmas stories by the fire, and the children listened in awe. After dinner, the family gathered around the Christmas tree to open their gifts. Brian was touched by the thoughtful presents that his family had given him, and he felt grateful for the love and support they showed him. As the night wore on, Brian sat by the fireplace, watching the flames dance and flicker. He realized that this was what Christmas was all about, being surrounded by the people you love, and feeling the warmth and joy of the holiday season. And so, Brian spent the happiest Christmas of his life, surrounded by the love and warmth of his family. He knew that this was where he belonged, and he was grateful for the memories that he had made. He realized that the most important things in life were family, love, and being home for the holidays. It was a cold and snowy Christmas Eve in the small town of Pinecrest. The air was crisp and the ground was covered in a thick blanket of snow, making it the perfect day for a snowball fight. As the sun began to set, a group of kids gathered at the town square, ready to take on their rival group from the other side of town. The two groups had been planning this snowball fight for weeks, and they were eager to see who would come out on top. The battle began with a flurry of snowballs flying through the air. The kids ducked and dodged, trying to avoid getting hit while also trying to hit their opponents. It was a chaotic scene, but everyone was having a great time. One of the kids, a boy named Tim, was particularly skilled at making snowballs. He had a secret technique that he had learned from his father, and he used it to quickly make snowballs that were perfectly round and packed tightly. As the snowball fight raged on, Tim's group began to gain the upper hand. They were able to hit their opponents with precision, and soon the other group was starting to falter. But then, something unexpected happened. One of Tim's snowballs accidentally hit a girl from the other group in the face, and she started crying. The other kids quickly stopped the snowball fight, and everyone rushed to see if the girl was okay. Tim felt terrible about what had happened, and he apologized profusely to the girl and her friends. Fortunately, the girl was not seriously hurt, and she was able to forgive Tim. As the sun began to set, the kids decided to call it a day and head to Tim's house for some hot chocolate. They all gathered around the fireplace, sipping on their hot chocolate and laughing about the snowball fight. The girl who had been hit by the snowball even joined in, and she and Tim became good friends. In the end, the snowball fight had brought the two groups of kids together, and they all had a wonderful Christmas Eve. As the snow fell gently from the sky on Christmas Eve, Mary sat by the window, lost in thought. She remembered Christmases past, when her family would gather together in their cozy little home, and the whole house would be filled with the joy and warmth of the holiday season. She remembered the Christmas tree, with its twinkling lights and shiny ornaments, and the delicious smells of Christmas dinner wafting from the kitchen. She remembered the laughter and love that filled the house, and the sense of togetherness that made the holiday so special. But those days were long gone, and Mary was alone now. Her parents were gone, and her siblings had moved away to start their own families. She was left with only the memories of Christmases past, and the feeling of nostalgia that filled her heart. But as she sat by the window, watching the snow fall, Mary realized that she still had the memories of those special Christmases. She could still feel the warmth and love in her heart, and she knew that the holiday season was about more than just being with loved ones. It was about the joy and magic of the season, and the memories that would last a lifetime. And so, Mary spent her Christmas Eve feeling grateful for the memories of Christmases past, and looking forward to the new memories she would make in the years to come. She knew that the holiday season was a time of joy and wonder, and she was determined to make the most of it, no matter what. As the snow fell gently from the sky on Christmas Eve, a family gathered around their Christmas tree, admiring its twinkling lights and shiny ornaments. But little did they know, their tree was about to come to life in a way they could never have imagined. As they stood there, the tree suddenly began to shake and sway, as if it was dancing to some unseen music. The family watched in amazement as the tree began to sing, its branches moving in time to the melody. At first, the family was scared, but soon they realized that the tree was just trying to join in the holiday fun. They laughed and clapped along as the tree continued to sing and dance, its leaves rustling and its branches swaying. But the fun didn't stop there. As the family sat down to enjoy their Christmas dinner, the tree wiggled its way into the dining room, and with a little help from the family, it was able to take a seat at the table. The tree ate and drank along with the family, and it was the hit of the party. As the night wore on, the family learned that the tree had come to life, because of a special magic Christmas star that had been placed on its top. The star had granted the tree the ability to dance and sing, and to spread joy and happiness to everyone around it. In the end, the family was grateful for the magic of the Christmas season, and for the special tree that had brought them so much joy. They vowed to always remember the magic of that Christmas Eve, and to cherish the memories of their dancing, singing tree for the rest of their lives. The Smith family had always spent Christmas at home, surrounded by the cold, snowy weather and the familiar sights and sounds of the holiday season. But this year, they decided to shake things up and spend Christmas in sunny, warm Hawaii. As they arrived on the island, the family was amazed by the beautiful beaches and the crystal-clear water. They checked into their hotel and set out to explore, eager to see all that Hawaii had to offer. One of the first things they did was go to a luau, where they feasted on delicious Hawaiian food and watched traditional dance performances. They also went on a boat ride to see the dolphins, and they spent a day at the beach, building sandcastles and swimming in the ocean. But despite all the fun activities, the family couldn't help but feel a little bit of homesickness on Christmas Eve. They missed the snow and the Christmas lights, and the sense of familiarity that came with spending the holiday at home. But as they sat down to their Christmas dinner, surrounded by the warm, tropical breeze, the family realized that Hawaii was a special and unique place to spend the holiday. They enjoyed their dinner, and they were grateful for the chance to spend the holiday in a new and exciting way. In the end, the Smith family had the best Christmas ever, filled with adventure, fun, and new experiences. They may have missed the snow and the cold, but they found a new kind of joy and magic in the warmth and beauty of Hawaii. They knew that they would always cherish the memories of this special Christmas, and they couldn't wait to come back again next year. In the heart of the English countryside, nestled amongst rolling hills and verdant forests, there was a small village that was steeped in history and tradition. The village had been around for centuries, and its cobbled streets and quaint cottages had witnessed countless Christmases come and go. On Christmas Eve, the village was alive with the sounds of carolers and the smells of gingerbread and mulled wine. The villagers gathered together in the town square, singing and laughing as they prepared for the most special night of the year. As the night wore on, the village was filled with the warm glow of Christmas lights and the sound of laughter and joy. The villagers had many special traditions that they followed on Christmas Eve, and they were passed down from generation to generation. One of the most beloved traditions was the Christmas wassail, a special drink made from spiced cider and honey. The villagers would go from door to door, singing and carrying a big bowl of wassail, and they would offer a cup to anyone who answered the door. Another tradition was the Christmas ghost story, which was told by the old village elder around the fire on Christmas Eve. The ghost story was full of whimsical tales of Christmas past, and it always sent shivers down the villagers' spines. But the most special tradition of all was the Christmas Eve feast, where the whole village gathered together to enjoy a delicious meal of roast beef, roast potatoes, and all the trimmings. The villagers would sit together at long tables, laughing and talking as they enjoyed the food and each other's company. As the night wore on, the village settled down to sleep, filled with the warmth and joy of the holiday season. And as they drifted off to sleep, the villagers knew that they were part of something special, a community steeped in history and tradition, and the magic of Christmas. Once upon a time, in a hidden valley deep in the heart of the forest, there was a secret village known as Christmasdale. It was a magical place, where the spirit of Christmas was alive and well, every single day of the year. The people of Christmasdale were kind and happy, living simple lives filled with joy and laughter. They were led by a wise and benevolent old man known as Santa Claus, who had been the caretaker of Christmasdale for as long as anyone could remember. Every day in Christmasdale was like a Christmas celebration, with the people singing carols, decorating their homes with brightly colored lights and ornaments, and sharing gifts with one another. The village was always filled with the sounds of laughter and joy, and the air was thick with the aroma of freshly baked cookies and hot cocoa. One day, two children, a brother and sister named Jack and Lucy, stumbled upon Christmasdale by accident. They had been lost in the forest for hours, and were cold and hungry when they stumbled upon the hidden valley. At first, they were scared and confused, not knowing what to make of the strange and wondrous place they had found. But the people of Christmasdale welcomed them with open arms, and soon they were singing and dancing along with the others, caught up in the joy and magic of the place. Jack and Lucy spent 3 wonderful days in Christmasdale, experiencing the joy of Christmas every single day. They went caroling with the others, decorated trees and houses, and enjoyed countless feasts and parties. They even got to meet Santa Claus himself, and sit on his lap to tell him their Christmas wishes. But all good things must come to an end, and eventually it was time for Jack and Lucy to return to their own home. They left Christmasdale with heavy hearts, but the people of the village assured them that they were always welcome to come back and celebrate with them again. And so, Jack and Lucy returned home, filled with the magic and joy of Christmasdale. They spent the rest of the year counting down the days until they could return to the secret village, to experience the joy of Christmas once again. For the people of Christmasdale, the spirit of Christmas was alive and well, every single day of the year. And they welcomed all who came to join them in their celebration, sharing the gifts of love, joy, and laughter with one another. It was a place of magic and wonder, and it would always hold a special place in the hearts of Jack and Lucy. Once upon a time, there was an old man named Mr. Johnson who had fallen on hard times. He had lost his wife and children many years ago, and with no family or friends left, he had become a lonely and miserable old man. Mr. Johnson lived in a small, run-down apartment on the outskirts of town, and spent his days sitting in front of the television, watching old reruns and reminiscing about the good old days. He had no one to talk to, no one to share his thoughts and feelings with, and he felt more alone than he ever had before. On Christmas Eve, Mr. Johnson was feeling particularly down. He had no plans for the holiday, and was resigned to spending another Christmas all by himself. But just as he was about to drift off to sleep, there was a knock on his door. Mr. Johnson opened the door to find a young man standing there, holding a plate of freshly baked cookies. The man introduced himself as Tim, and explained that he lived in the apartment next door. He had noticed that Mr. Johnson was always alone, and he wanted to invite him to come celebrate Christmas with him and his family. At first, Mr. Johnson was hesitant. He didn't want to intrude on Tim's family, and he was sure they wouldn't want an old man like him around. But Tim was insistent, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. In the end, Mr. Johnson agreed to go, and he was surprised at how much fun he had. Tim's family was warm and welcoming, and they made him feel like one of their own. They ate a delicious Christmas dinner together, sang carols, and exchanged gifts. For the first time in years, Mr. Johnson felt truly happy. He had found friends, and he had experienced the joy and warmth of a family Christmas. He was grateful to Tim and his family for their kindness, and he vowed to never spend another Christmas alone. In the years that followed, Mr. Johnson became a regular fixture at Tim's family Christmas celebrations. He grew to love them like his own, and they loved him back. He lived many more years, filled with happiness and joy, thanks to the kindness of one young man and his family. And he never forgot the Christmas Eve that changed his life forever. On Christmas Eve, Santa was having a terrible problem. His sleigh had broken down, and he didn't think he would be able to deliver all of the presents to the children of the world in time. He was worried and frustrated, and he didn't know what to do. But just when it seemed like all was lost, Santa heard a knock on the door of his workshop. He opened it, and to his surprise, he saw a young boy and girl standing there. They had heard about Santa's problem, and they wanted to help. Santa was grateful for the offer, and he asked the boy and girl to help him fix his sleigh. Together, they worked tirelessly, using their ingenuity and problem-solving skills to come up with a solution. After hours of hard work, the sleigh was finally fixed, and Santa was ready to set off on his Christmas Eve journey. But before he left, the boy and girl asked Santa if they could come with him, to help deliver the presents to all the good boys and girls around the world. Santa was hesitant at first, but he knew that the boy and girl were kind and brave, and he decided to give them a chance. He invited them to climb aboard his sleigh, and together, they set off on the most magical Christmas Eve journey of their lives. The boy and girl helped Santa deliver presents to children all around the world, and they were amazed by the sights, and sounds of the holiday season. They saw snow-covered rooftops and twinkling Christmas lights, and they heard the sounds of laughter and joy. In the end, the boy and girl had saved Christmas for all the children of the world, and Santa was grateful for their help. He gave them the best gift of all, the knowledge that they had made a difference, and that they had brought joy and happiness to countless children on Christmas Eve. And they knew that they would always cherish the memories of their magical journey with Santa. In the heart of the Bavarian forest, there was a small village that had been untouched by time for centuries. The village was known for its old-fashioned charm and its traditional German customs, and on Christmas Eve, it was a sight to behold. As the snow fell gently from the sky, the villagers gathered in the town square, ready to celebrate the most special night of the year. They were dressed in their finest clothes, and they carried lanterns to light their way as they sang and danced. But as the night wore on, a strange feeling of unease settled over the village. The villagers couldn't quite put their finger on it, but something didn't feel right. They continued to celebrate, but they kept a wary eye on their surroundings. As it turned out, their fears were justified. A group of thieves had been watching the village from the shadows, and they saw the Christmas Eve celebrations as the perfect opportunity to strike. They sneaked into the village, intent on stealing the villagers' Christmas presents and causing as much chaos as possible. But the villagers were not about to let the thieves ruin their Christmas. They banded together, using their wits and their courage to outsmart the thieves and protect their loved ones. In the end, the thieves were driven away, and the village was saved. The villagers celebrated their victory, and they were filled with the joy and warmth of the holiday season. They were grateful for the community that they had built, and for the strength and courage that they had shown in the face of danger. And as they settled down to sleep on Christmas Eve, the villagers knew that their old-fashioned village was a special and magical place, and that the spirit of Christmas would always keep them safe. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was a small village nestled deep in a dense forest. The villagers were simple folk, living peaceful and harmonious lives in harmony with nature. They were ruled by a kind and benevolent queen, who was loved and respected by all. One day, a great storm swept through the land, causing widespread destruction and chaos. The villagers were terrified and helpless, not knowing what to do. But the queen, with her great wisdom and compassion, knew exactly what was needed to bring peace and order back to the land. She called forth a group of magical creatures from the forest, the mischievous elves, the wise old owl, the majestic reindeer, and the gentle snowman. Together, they worked tirelessly to rebuild the village, using their magic to bring warmth and light back to the cold and dark land. As the days passed, the village slowly began to return to its former glory. The people were grateful and happy, and they celebrated by holding a grand feast in honor of the queen and her magical helpers. This feast became known as Christmas, and it was celebrated every year with great joy and merriment. But the queen knew that the true spirit of Christmas was not just about feasting and merrymaking. It was about showing love and kindness to others, and sharing the gifts of warmth and light with those in need. So every Christmas, she would call forth the magical creatures once again, and they would journey far and wide across the land, bringing gifts and joy to every corner of the kingdom. And thus, the tradition of Christmas was born, spreading joy and happiness throughout the land. The people would gather together to celebrate the holiday, sharing their love and gratitude with one another. And the magical creatures of the forest would continue to play a vital role, bringing the light and warmth of Christmas to all those who needed it. To this day, the people of the village still celebrate Christmas with the same joy and enthusiasm as they did so long ago. And the magical creatures of the forest continue to bring joy and light to the world, reminding us all of the true spirit of Christmas: love, kindness, and generosity. It was the week before Christmas, and Mary was feeling more down than she had in a long time. She had recently lost her job, and she was struggling to make ends meet. She didn't have the money to buy gifts for her friends and family, and she felt like she had nothing to look forward to. But despite her troubles, Mary knew that she had to put on a brave face and try to enjoy the holiday season. She forced a smile onto her face and went out to do her Christmas shopping, determined to find the perfect gifts for the people she loved. But as she wandered the crowded stores, she couldn't help feeling envious of the other shoppers, who seemed to be full of joy and excitement. She couldn't afford to buy any of the fancy gifts that they were picking out, and she felt more and more down with each passing minute. Finally, Mary couldn't take it anymore. She left the store and wandered aimlessly through the streets, feeling more alone than she had in a long time. She didn't know what to do, or how to find the joy and meaning in the holiday season. But then, something unexpected happened. As Mary walked down a busy street, she saw a group of carolers singing outside a store. She stopped to listen, and as she did, she felt a warmth in her heart that she hadn't felt in a long time. She realized that Christmas wasn't about the gifts or the decorations, it was about the love and joy that filled the hearts of people. Overwhelmed with emotion, Mary joined in the caroling, singing with all her heart. And as she sang, she felt a sense of connection with the other people around her. She realized that she wasn't alone, and that the true meaning of Christmas was to spread love and joy to everyone around her. Feeling happier than she had in a long time, Mary continued her Christmas shopping, determined to make this the best holiday season ever. She found small, thoughtful gifts for her friends and family, and she made sure to include a note with each one, expressing her love and gratitude. On Christmas Day, Mary's home was filled with laughter and joy. She felt grateful for the people in her life, and for the true meaning of Christmas that she had found. And as she looked around at the happy faces of her loved ones, she knew that this was the best Christmas she had ever had. Once upon a time, in a cozy little forest, there lived a mouse named Max and a lion named Leo. Max was small and quick, with soft brown fur and a long tail. Leo was large and majestic, with a golden mane and a mighty roar. But despite their differences, Max and Leo were the best of friends. One winter, as Christmas approached, Max and Leo began to get excited. They had heard about the holiday from the other animals in the forest, and they couldn't wait to celebrate it together. So they set to work, gathering pine cones and berries to decorate their homes, and stringing lights and garlands to make everything look festive. On Christmas Eve, Max and Leo gathered around the fireplace, sipping on hot cocoa and munching on cookies. They sang Christmas carols together, filling the forest with the joyous sounds of the season. And as the night wore on, they snuggled up in their cozy beds, excited for the morning to come. When morning arrived, Max and Leo rushed to the living room to see what Santa had left for them. To their delight, they found a pile of presents, all wrapped in colorful paper and ribbons. They took turns opening their gifts, squealing with excitement as they discovered what was inside. Max got a shiny new bell for his tail, and Leo received a soft, warm blanket for his bed. They were thrilled with their presents, and they spent the rest of the day playing with them and enjoying each other's company. As the sun set on Christmas Day, Max and Leo sat outside, watching the snowflakes drift down from the sky. They were filled with the warmth and joy of the holiday season, and they knew that they would always cherish their memories of this special Christmas. And so, Max and Leo lived happily ever after, celebrating Christmas together every year, and spreading the joy of the holiday season to all the animals in the forest. On a cold, snowy night, a group of carolers gathered in the town square, ready to spread the joy of the holiday season. There were young children, with rosy cheeks and bright eyes, and there were older people, with weathered faces and voices full of experience. But they all had one thing in common: the love of Christmas and the desire to share it with others. The carolers began to sing, their voices blending together in harmony. They sang the classic Christmas songs, from Jingle Bells to Silent Night, filling the air with the sounds of the season. As they sang, people came out of their homes to listen, and soon the town square was filled with people, all smiling and swaying to the music. The carolers continued to sing, moving from street to street, spreading their joy wherever they went. They sang outside shops and homes, and people came out to greet them, offering them hot drinks and treats to warm them up on the cold night. As the night wore on, the carolers grew tired, but they continued to sing, their voices strong and full of spirit. Finally, they made their way back to the town square, where they sang one last song before taking their leave. As they walked home, the carolers felt grateful for the opportunity to share their love of Christmas with others. They knew that they had brought a little bit of magic and wonder into the world, and they were filled with the joy and warmth of the holiday season. And so, the carolers went home, ready to rest and enjoy the rest of their Christmas celebration, knowing that they had brought happiness to others and found it within themselves. Once upon a time, in a cozy little town nestled in the snowy hills of the countryside, there was a family who loved Christmas more than anything else in the world. They were known all around town for their elaborate Christmas decorations and their festive spirit. Every year, the family would spend weeks planning their Christmas celebration, and they would go all out to make sure that it was the best one yet. They would start by putting up a towering Christmas tree in their living room, which they would then decorate with twinkling lights, shiny ornaments, and colorful ribbons. On Christmas Eve, the family would gather around the tree and sing Christmas carols together, filling their home with the joyous sounds of the season. Then, they would sit down to a delicious Christmas feast, complete with all of their favorite holiday dishes. After dinner, the family would open their gifts, taking turns to unwrap each one and marvel at the thoughtful presents that had been given to them. And as the night wore on, they would curl up by the fireplace, sipping on hot cocoa and telling stories of Christmases past. But the most special part of the family's Christmas celebration was their tradition of going caroling around the neighborhood. Dressed in warm coats and gloves, the family would venture out into the snowy night, singing their hearts out as they went from door to door. The people of the town would always welcome them with open arms, offering them hot drinks and treats as they sang. And by the end of the night, the family would return home, rosy-cheeked and exhausted, but filled with the warmth and joy of the holiday season. Every year, the family's Christmas celebration was a highlight of the season, and they looked forward to it all year long. It was their way of bringing a little bit of magic and wonder into the world, and spreading the joy of the holiday to everyone around them.